Well, boys, it's a new year, and you know what that means. A new slew of rumors and discussions about potential new Nintendo Switch hardware coming this year. It's been a pretty hot topic the last couple days, so I figured may as well address it now. A lot of the new Switch talks I've seen seem to be stemming from two places. One, this Game Industry Biz article where the staff was predicting, the tech things they expect to see in 2020, and this Sirkin Toto guy said, and I quote, "There is absolutely no doubt in my mind that Nintendo will launch a Switch Pro in 2020. My guess is at $399. More specifically, I predict 4K support, bigger cartridge sizes, yeah, those bigger cartridges will be great for no one to use, and of course, beefed up components. I also think the device will launch after the summer holidays to counter the rollout of the PS5 and next-gen Xbox later in the year, along with a first-party system seller game." It should be noted that one of his predictions for last year, 2019, was that Nintendo would be releasing a Switch Lite as well as a Switch Pro. And he touts, "Hey, I was half right. I got the Switch Lite name right even." Yeah, wow, a name they've used for past handhelds. You really went out on a limb there, didn't you? Also, more recently, the DigiTimes have stated that they believe a new Switch model is about to enter production and is set to release mid-2020. Now, if this is true, we could be talking about a big revision of Switch Pro or something, but also don't forget, this could be something more akin to what we saw last year with the better battery life Switch, where it's a small revision, maybe more storage or something like that. The DigiTimes article actually talks about giving it perhaps a more premium feel, something that isn't so plasticky. I will say before I even get into it, I'd much rather see Nintendo make improvements to the current Switch before any new models come. Simple quality of life stuff like folders and better organizational tools for the games on the home menu. The abysmal party chat, still to this day, the freaking Nintendo DS had better voice chat functionality than Nintendo's current system. They embarrassed themselves. Man, I'd really like to see some themes on this thing already, and more themes than black and white, okay? Yeah, there's plenty they could be doing to make things better now, and all of those improvements would certainly carry over to a potential new Switch, so everybody wins in that respect. Nevertheless, we are here to speculate about new Switch hardware. I think immediately there are two courses Nintendo could take with a Switch upgrade, and we have to first make it clear what those options are. A Switch Pro, for instance, I'd consider to be like a PlayStation 4 Pro or an Xbox One X, a more powerful version of the system that plays the same games. Nothing is exclusive from the past versions. Basically, you're getting the same games, just better visuals, better performance out of the games. Then, there's a generational sort of leap, essentially like a Switch 2 or a Super Switch. I kind of like the Super Switch as a name. And when I hear buzzwords like 4K capabilities and that, it makes me feel like this is the route people are referring to. This would also be the direction to attract more third parties, as to get more third-party games on board, you probably couldn't require the games to run on the past Switch hardware, and that's something I've seen a lot of people when it comes to this Switch upgrade talk about as a reason why they want it. Like, oh, I want to get more big third-party games on the Switch. So if that's your argument, then this is what you're talking about, a generational leap where we have exclusives, games on the system that aren't playable on the old one. Either way, whatever course Nintendo decides to go in terms of a more powerful Switch, I do think they will continue to have their first-party stuff, the Nintendo exclusives and that, at least for the next couple years, running on both the past versions of the Switch and this new Switch, even if it is a generational leap. Because, yeah, I just don't think you can come out and say something like, oh, the next gen of Pokemon will be exclusive to this Super Switch. People would riot, especially with how many people. We're going to find out pretty soon probably how many millions of people just bought a Nintendo Switch this past holiday for Pokemon. And that's where you also run into problems, because I do see the third-party thing, again, as something a lot of people mention. Maybe we get something like, I don't know, a Cyberpunk 2077, right? How cool would that be to have on a Switch on the go? It'd be awesome, I agree. But like I said a couple of videos ago with the PS5 and the new Xbox, it's hard to get third parties to sign up for something like that early on. Against Cyberpunk, for instance. The game's coming this year, the new systems are coming this year, they could have easily made it exclusive to the next gen and went really crazy with the graphics and that. but no way did they want to give up on those major install bases of the PS4 and the Xbox One. And that's why most third-party games for the first couple years will support both generations. The new Nintendo 3DS is an example I would use in here as well. I've seen a lot of people bring that up when we talk about this Switch upgrade, like, oh, the new Nintendo 3DS was a beefed up version, it had its own exclusives. Yeah, but it actually reinforces this point. The new Nintendo 3DS, it did sell really well, but that had a lot to do with that introductory price of $200. Do not forget, the new Nintendo 3DS launched for much cheaper than the original 3DS did when it launched. So it was a quality system with a low price point, but even still, then just look at the exclusives. There were like, what? I think 2 major retail releases that were new Nintendo 3DS exclusives. There were a bunch of random digital games, and like I think the SNES games were exclusive to new Nintendo 3DS, but it's like, why didn't developers want to take advantage of that hardware and make exclusive games for the new Nintendo 3DS? Well, it's simple. They looked around and said, wait, what about all the people that own the original 3DS? What about the 2DS? We want to sell to them too. And that's why, like with console generations, we see an easing into it. We see a lot of games come out for both gens for the first couple years, and once the install bases of the new systems gets up there, then we see developers start to, phase out support for the old hardware. And when we talk about a potential big leap for the Nintendo Switch hardware, that's not going to be the case because this new system is what's going to attract the third parties, but now you have to remember that past install base, it was up to 41 million last update. Certainly after the holidays, it's going to be many million more. All of those users are not potential buyers for your game because it's exclusive to this new system. That is not very enticing. You're going to have to beef up that install base before a lot of these third parties are going to want to come on board. And if it's not going to have exclusive Nintendo games, if all the games are going to be on both the current Switch and this new Switch, that's tough. And that's why I do think if they were to do something this soon, a Pro-type model makes a little bit more sense to me because you're not splintering the player base at all. You'll probably get some more ports like The Witcher 3 that are pretty rough on the base Switch, but on the Switch Pro, they're going to look much better. But the downside there is you're going to continue to probably lose third-party support, at least from the more big AAA type games, as you have to keep making the games for the base Switch, and that seems to currently be the issue, the growing issue for a lot of third parties. And in terms of sales for Nintendo, are third parties right now really that big of a deal? I mean, third-party support, let's be honest, on the current Switch is already sparse, and the systems sell like hotcakes. They're exclusives, certainly, sell crazy. Like again, I said in my video about competing with the other next-gen systems this year, I don't think they're in any trouble or should be in a rush to respond to them, anything like that. As long as they keep the exclusives coming and we do see a price drop at least later in the year. I mean, many industry analysts, as things are now, say they expect the Switch to be the best-selling system this year. And I agree, it has a fantastic library, it's going to keep growing, and the price is only going to go down as these new systems come out, which will probably have pretty hefty price tags on them. And while I don't think a more powerful Switch system would really screw much with that, I definitely don't think it would hurt Nintendo. But if you release this premium console this year, you're also throwing your hat into the ring with the new Xbox and PS5. You're going to have all of the big three releasing significant console upgrades in the same year, which the Xbox and PS5 are certainly going to have really big marketing pushes throughout the year. The Xbox Series X was already revealed at the Game Awards. I'm sure there will be a whole event just for the PS5, probably relatively soon, to start pumping that up. And a new Switch will surely have a higher price point, pushing it more in competition with these next-gen systems. A lot of people are saying, again, around a $400 price tag, and there are rumors that the PS5 might be $400. I know we talk a lot about how the Nintendo Switch is a different sort of console. It doesn't compete as directly with the other big two, but it still does compete with them, and I definitely think the closer the price tags get, the more you're inviting comparisons and thus competition. Everything's going to be hitting the shelves around the same time. You're competing with the word of mouth, the headlines, just all the gaming talk online. Everybody's going to be talking about all these systems at once. Essentially, in 2020, with the other next-gen systems set to launch, I don't think this is a fight Nintendo wants, but more importantly, I don't think it's one they need. Again, I have no reason to believe that the current Switch won't continue to drive major sales throughout the end of the year, and I honestly don't think launching a new Switch, whether it be a Switch Pro, a Super Switch, whatever, is really going to change much either way. So once more, I don't see the rush to get in there and slug it out with the other systems. So personally, I would hold off for now. But that doesn't mean I don't think we should ever get a new Switch or that I don't think we should get one soon. Here's what I would do. If I ran Nintendo, I would have something souped up, capable of playing more demanding games. Again, that generational type leap. But I would launch it in a year or two. You, for one, definitely wouldn't have any other new consoles coming out then. It's not like Xbox is going to launch a new Xbox this year and a new Xbox next year. So all of the attention in the gaming space is going to be on you. Rather, again, if they're going to launch in summer of this year, it's like, okay, they're going to have a couple months of, oh, the Switch is the new thing. But then again, a couple months later, the new Xbox, the PlayStation 5 are going to come out. So by waiting just a little bit longer, I think you get this much stronger position. And I would still at the start have it share the same first-party Nintendo exclusives as the current models and keep this going for its first couple years. Basically, I'd like Nintendo, and this is whenever they launch it, I should say this, I would like Nintendo to embrace a transition where they introduce something next gen, but you don't quickly cut support for the last gen as we see with a lot of their consoles. You transition into it gradually, continuing to get software sales on the past systems that you've built up this big install base for, and eventually in a few years try to get all of or most of them to upgrade to the new system. Of course, I'd also have the system be fully backwards compatible with the Nintendo Switch, so when people do upgrade, they have access to that entire past library when they pick up the new system. And it also just makes upgrading a lot easier because if the entire past gen library of games is compatible on the new system, then you can sell your past system and not lose access to any of your games. And for launch, to hit the ground running, you do want that big system seller, and I would probably time this thing with the release of Breath of the Wild 2. Have that be a launch game, which will have probably been developed from the start with this Super Switch in mind. It would probably look mind-blowing on the new hardware. I don't want to say it would look bad in comparison on the current Nintendo Switch, but given some of these rumored possible specs people have been throwing around, you could have this Super Switch version look so much more impressive that even though it is available on the current Switch, many still may want to upgrade to get that definitive version. And that game starts to move us into the next generation. Yeah, that's what I would do. I'm sticking to pretty much what I've said since rumors of a Switch Pro type thing started, that I think Nintendo is best off launching something more powerful, a significant upgrade, after the next-gen competitors launch. You have more time to produce something that is more capable, and with the way the sales are currently, I don't see there being any rush to start dividing your player base. Not to mention, all the talk, gaming news coverage in that, like I said, will solely be focused on you and your new system leading up to release, as the other systems will have already come out. There'll be old news. And to be clear, I do want to say, before I close this out, if a more powerful Nintendo Switch comes out in 3 years, I'm going to buy it. If it comes out in 3 days, I'm going to buy it. And I'm excited to get new hardware. But this is just, in the grand scheme of things, what I think would be best for Nintendo and the consumers. Because I also take into account that I'm not the standard consumer. I'm the enthusiast that will buy pretty much everything. If they did a new Switch every 2 years, I would probably buy it. If you're scouring forums, watching tons of gaming videos, staying on top of everything, you are in the enthusiast camp, and I think this course would make the system best positioned to attract a wider audience. But anyway, with that, this video's a wrap. Let me know your thoughts on a potential new upgraded Nintendo Switch coming soon in the comments. Would you like to see a sort of a Switch Pro or a whole generational leap like a Switch 2 Super Switch? And when would you like to see that system release? Hey guys, I hope you enjoyed this discussion on potential new Nintendo Switch hardware. If you're new to the channel, please consider subscribing, and if you want to keep the conversation going, hit me up on Twitter at JohnnyZakari, and join my Discord, ChiGuy and Friends, link to both in the description below. And as always, thanks for watching.